Hello and welcome back to Let's Play Crash Bandicoot. At the end of the last episode, we made a good bit of progress, I would say, through the Cortex Island, which is of course the final island. And it is now time to start things up with Toxic Waste. So this level is very special indeed. And the reason for that is simply because of this guy right here. So these guys are actually, there's going to be multiple of them. They are going to be throwing toxic waste barrels at you the entire level, pretty much for the most part. It is going to get a lot more challenging towards the end, of course, like most levels do. So the main objective here is clearly just to not get hit by these freaking barrels. They can be a little bit annoying, and again, I hate to kind of sound repetitive and maybe talk in circles, but again, I mean, this was in Donkey Kong Country. This mechanic was definitely in Donkey Kong Country. So in my opinion, I just feel like they had a lot of inspiration from that game. Just my opinion, I have no solid evidence or facts to back that up. I would love to look into that, though. I think that's very interesting to kind of find some connections between the two. Because again, a lot of stuff in this game remind me of Donkey Kong Country. So I just want to kind of point that out. But anyways, getting back to the main topic at hand, and that's this level. So these guys are basically going to be kind of annoying. I really kind of enjoy gimmicks like this, and again, this was the late 90s, so we had gimmicks like this in games pretty frequently, so this was not really anything to, I don't think to anyone's surprise that we saw a level where, they're just kind of throwing obstacles at you pretty much periodically throughout the level, so, but now, as you can see, they're throwing barrels a little bit higher. They're actually kind of bouncing more, so as you can see, we got hit there. I still have a coup with me, so I think I'm okay. But I would definitely say if you do not have any Aku for this level, you definitely want to be very cautious, especially at this point. Because again, those barrels that are bouncing are very unpredictable in their patterns, so it is kind of hard. It is predictable in a certain sense once you kind of understand, the pattern or kind of, study the rhythm. But for the most part, it can be a little bit, I guess, challenging and it is unexpected, I guess, especially if you're going through this for the first time. My first time with this level was very fun. It kind of went horrible, but I feel like this part of the game is still a little easier than stuff that is coming up a little bit later on, and we'll kind of talk more about that once we get there, of course, but not too excited about that. Again, I love this game, and I really I'm just really a big complainer when it comes to challenging games, but this game does challenging platforming. This game is challenging in a sense where it's enjoyable to do and it keeps me on my toes. So games that are stupid hard are a completely different story, and that's just not this game. So anyways, enough of me rambling on about a bunch of crazy nonsense. We're going to continue onwards, and of course we are going to end the level with these bouncing freaking barrels, and of course I would get hit, but it doesn't matter because I didn't need to time that all that well because I was already through the level anyway, so this is the end. It looks like we picked up a blue gem. This is going to be the third of the colored gems. Of course, we already have the green and the orange. And now we will be returning back out to the map, and we have unlocked the next boss fight with Pinstripe Poo Poo. Just kidding, Pinstripe Potoroo. But now that we have the blue gem from Toxic Waste, we are actually able to backtrack in a couple of different levels to finish those up. First level is going to be Rolling Stones. Let's head right back in. So once you get to the gem path, about midway through the level, we will now be lowered underground, and look right here, we have 6 boxes that we were not able to get previously, with a nice little image of Dr. Neo Cortex just sitting there, giving us his resting angry face there. So very cool, kind of weird. All right, so now that we have finished up all the remaining breakable boxes, we will now collect our white gem at last, because we were not able to do that before without those additional 6 that we just couldn't get. So very nice, but we have now wrapped up Rolling Stones officially. And an achievement, look at that. More gems are better than... yeah, see? You're on this ride with me. Anyone watching this, you are on this ride with me. I'm doing this all for the first time. All right, so now we're going to head back over to Cortex Power, another level that we can finish up with the blue gem. So once you arrive at this checkpoint, this is where things get a little confusing, but for the most part it is straightforward if you just remember where you're going. So this split path right here, before when we first arrived at this level, we went this way. So we went the left, we went in the left direction of the split path where we had those guys there. So this time, let's see what happens if we go to the right. So as you can see, we have some steps that lead up to another destination, and look at this. We have a crazy freaking pistol shooting whatever the hell this guy is. I can't remember those enemies' names, but as you can see, we have 4 boxes right here, and the TNT boxes, of course, do count towards our total. I don't know if I've ever mentioned that. But 4 boxes hiding right there. We did not get those before. We could have gotten those before, but at the time, it just was not necessary and really not important. So back at the very beginning of the level, we want to actually take that left direction at the split path there early on, take out this crazy guy there, and we can proceed onward. So this part right here is actually, I think I showed this off the first time, but before, of course, we did not have the blue gem. So now we have opened up another path that was not accessible before, and we have a few more obstacles to kind of avoid, but for the most part this isn't that bad. Here are the boxes that we were not able to get before. Of course, we have some TNT crates in there. I just wanted to kind of set one of those off, and that should destroy the remaining boxes that are in that location. Very nice. Now all we have to do is get through the rest of this section here, and then we just got to go backtrack for the rest of the boxes, and then I will meet you back at the end of the level. Finally arrived back, and that switch that we hit at that right path at the middle section was able to open up more boxes towards the end there. That allows us to go ahead and pick up those that we were not able to do before as well. And now that we have every box broken, we now get a white gem for the level. So very nice indeed. Things are looking grand at this point. And that's gem number white gem number 14. All right, so now we go ahead and return back to Pinstripe Potoro, the next boss fight of the game. All right, so this guy is obviously on a little bit of a bender here. He is acting like a fool a little bit and kind of acting a little cray-cray, if you ask me. So now for this fight, what we simply want to do is just wait until he has fired his little rounds there. And then we want to go ahead and move quickly over to him and use the spin attack to attack him. And that will cause him to essentially be stunned, I guess, for temporarily. But then he'll go immediately back into his offensive phase. So you want to make sure you hide behind these comfy looking freaking chairs. And of course, I would die, not able to get behind it. All right, so I have him back down to 3 hits. So he has 6 total hits. So we only have 3 more hits to do. Yeah, like I said, you want to make sure you're sitting behind. I think you can get behind the one on the right, but this is the easiest one, I think, to get behind. So I always just kind of chill here. Wait till he does his thing. And then, of course, once there is a free shot, I go in for the kill. So, yeah, right here, he's going to do that as well. So he'll kind of, you know, act like he can't get his thing to work. You know, essentially that's when he's vulnerable, essentially. That's kind of the indication. When he's further away, it's a little bit more challenging because, as you can see, you have to kind of, you know, run away from those bullets as fast as possible. Turn into Superman there for a second or something. I don't know. Maybe necessary. But he's down to 1 hit, and this is where things get challenging. But we went ahead and knocked him on his booty. Got a nice little hit there as he was reloading on the table. And he is now done. I love the portraits in there. Those are kind of cool. That picture of Cortez is pretty cool, as well as the one of Pinstripe on the left. Love those little details. But now we are moving on to another special level. This is called the High Road. So if you thought the road to nowhere was bad, guess again. So if you thought the road to nowhere was horrible with its gimmicks and its obstacles, you have seen nothing until you have taken the High Road in Crash Bandicoot. Right off the bat, they are sneaky and they are hiding these hidden steps where you can actually go backwards in the beginning of the level, and you will find these 4 boxes here. If you do not do that, of course, you're not going to get 100% in this level. It's a dick move, I know, but I didn't do it, but I still think it's clever in the same strength. So good on them for doing this. I don't care how much pain it causes us as players. I am perfectly fine with it. But anyways, enough of me being completely insane. We're going to go ahead and pass over these hogs. These guys are annoying. They're not really easy to attack. I've never been able to attack them, so I just kind of jump over them. I think you can technically spin into them as they're running away from you. But now we have more turtles as well. So these guys are going to be your essential mechanics in this level 100% for sure. So the last time I kind of mentioned the turtles being used as, or when we were in the Road to Nowhere, I mentioned the turtles were being, you know, kind of your main, we're kind of acting as like your main pathway through a certain level. This is that level. I kind of confuse it with the Road to Nowhere, but we did use it a couple of times towards the end of the level. This one is not like that at all. This is majority of this level is going to be heavily involved in platforming by using these turtles. It's a lot easier than you would think it would be, and then it looks. It's just very intimidating, especially if you're doing this for the first time, which for me, this was like, I think I peed my pants or something. I don't know. I didn't actually do that. I don't know why I said that, but it was like that. That's how scared I was. Like I could have done something weird and something I regretted, and yeah, it was bad. But anyways, enough of that. We are just kind of focus on the task at hand here. Again, this isn't too challenging. It's just a matter of just, you know, you really have to stay very locked in at this part. And these guys don't help anything because they're just running like crazy. One thing that is actually pretty cool is if you do break those breakable steps, and the hog gets like to a point where it can't go back, it'll just kind of chill there and it's just like, yeah, okay, I'm done. Like I can't move any longer, so I'm just gonna sit here. So he just kind of chills on the non-breakable steps of the bridge. So kind of cool. Just want to kind of point that out. But we have some more turtles here. This part actually isn't quite as bad until we get to the very end, and that's when things get go from 0 to 10, and, essentially in terms of difficulty. But overall it isn't that bad once you kind of get the hang of it. And again, this is a much different type of platformer than most out there, especially modern day. So it's very much a gimmick I definitely appreciate, I have to say. And wow, I didn't think, so yeah, the turtles will flip back over. I didn't think he was gonna, I thought I was gonna get hit there for a second. That was kind of close, but just want to make sure I'm not missing any boxes up there. But I just want to wait for him to reset, want to get him closer. Another thing, actually didn't even mention this, is you want to make sure they are actually positioned right where you need them. So the turtles will walk on their own, of course, and then the moment that you jump on them is where they're going to stop. So timing their position as well as being able to jump on their bellies and making it over to the platforms are both things that are very much going to require a lot of heavy focus and multitasking. So keep that in mind. But now it is time to take on the Tana bonus level. So we have a little bit of a breather here from what we were just doing, a little hectic out there on that freaking broken bridge, but now we have a little bit of a break. Well, I guess kind of. This I actually would say would be one of the more complicated and difficult Tana bonus stages, because as you can see, we have to do a little bit of outside of the box thinking, and yeah, no pun intended. I'm terrible, but anyways, you want to make sure you break these top boxes first, but don't break all of them once you are first get over to the right side. Once you do get to the right side, of course, you can go ahead and get rid of the rest of the top boxes and then break all of the bottom ones that you did not get. So essentially just make sure you have a path kind of carved out with the boxes. Again, very strategic thinking required there, but again, that's what I love about this game. So moving on, we have more turtles. We want to go ahead and let them just kind of fall through the cracks there. Yeah, this part is pretty stressful, because once those turtles fall through, you lose them as platforms. So you want to make sure you're getting over that pretty quick. But we did it, and I'm actually shocked silly. But anyways, we went ahead and grabbed our white gem. Thank goodness, because I don't think we ever have to actually return back to this level since we got our white gem already. So that's good news. And we're going to raise our progress percentage up a couple notches and move right along. Moving on, we have Slippery Climb, another level I'm not really excited about, but let's go get it done. So I'm sure you could tell by the beginning of the level, we had it looks like a red gem slot there. So we are going to, in fact, be finding the red gem at the end of this level. So We just want to make sure that we don't screw it up. I'm sure it's going to happen a couple of times here and there, but this one is pretty challenging. However, I love the environment here. I love the fact that the rain is dropping down from the sky and we are essentially scaling the castle. It looks very grim, but very like, you know, just kind of a vibe where it's like leading up to like that final moment. Like he's getting there. Like Cortex better watch out because Crash is scaling the castle. Rain or shine, you're not going to stop this freaking Bandicoot. So we have these creepy little guys and inmates that are kind of going to reach their hands out to you. That they look very ill, and I don't know what to say about those guys. They're very creepy. You can spin into their hands to make them kind of go away. So that's something I would definitely advise to do. So yeah, they're kind of creepy. But yeah, I love the rain. One thing I was going to say about the rain mechanic here is it looks like at times that it's like dripping on like the camera. So it's kind of cool, and I of course would fall right there and screw everything up. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and try this again. I'm hoping I don't have to restart this level too many times. I've already had to do that a couple of times in some of the previous levels. I didn't really just mention it that much, but for the most part, I am not that bad at this game. I'm just not great at it, so at times. So take that with what you will. But we're just gonna move on forward here and grab our boxes. So what's nice is I still have a pretty good stockpile of extra lives, so I'm not too worried about getting the game over in this playthrough at this, by this point. We're pretty much, definitely over halfway done with the game, so we just kind of have to keep it going. Just got to go as smooth as possible. So I'm just one of those people where I have to perfect like everything I do, and especially in gaming. Like if there's a game where I really enjoyed and I think it has a lot of value, and I think it's going to be a game I'm going to spend a lot of my time with, I have to perfect almost everything to a T. Like whether it's completing something at 100%, maybe the main story, certain objectives in a game. That's just always how like I've always been, and I don't know if it's like the OCD that I have. Maybe I know I have it. Basically, that's kind of my attitude going into a lot of games that I like, especially 3D platformers that I play a lot. But this game specifically, I make it a point to try to gather as much as I can, or to do the best that I can and not die as many times, really. This is my first time, of course, 100%ing this game, so I definitely want to make this run specifically, as smooth as possible. Like things need to go. I know they're not going to after a certain point, but anyways, I've talked enough about that, so. We're just going to continue onwards, and this is the level where, if you remember back in, I want to say it was the Lost City, I think there was a couple other levels in between, maybe before that or after, where we had some of these platforms that were kind of moving in and out of the wall. Yeah, I think it was Lost City towards the end of it. This is the level I was talking about where it gets a lot more sped up, where you kind of have to be very quick on your feet when you're jumping on those platforms, because they will go in and out, and they will go in kind of an alternative pattern where one will go in as the other comes out, and so on and so forth. So you definitely want to make sure you're timing your jumps as well as having a lot of speed when you're making those jumps. So just want to kind of point that out. That's kind of obvious. But anyways, moving on, we are going to see if we can jump on some of these platforms. This part can get a little bit weird, a little awkward, because if you do not make the jump at a certain angle or don't hold the control stick to the certain if you don't hold the control stick in a certain direction as you're making this jump, it can be hard to make it onto this platform right here that I just jumped on. So it's something to keep in mind, but yeah, for the most part, this isn't too bad. Again, these jumps, you kind of want to have to, again, hold your direction over and make sure you really leap over to that next platform. That way you don't fall down to your death and have to restart this crap all over again. So these steps are going to essentially, just go in and out, kind of like the those platforms were against the wall. We have some mad scientist guys that are going to get in our way this time. I guess they are the replacements of the monkeys in this level. But yeah, so we're going to see if we can get through this with as less of a headache as possible. But yeah, just spin into those scientist dudes and they will go down. It's actually kind of satisfying to watch them fall down this giant, area here, kind of scaling around the castle. Now we have some birds. So these birds are going to be kind of similar to the turtles, where we are going to use them as like an additional spring in our jump. They give a lot more of a spring in Crash's jump. So definitely I would say these birds are beneficial to making some of these jumps. It doesn't really matter what position they're in. So that's what's interesting with the turtles, and especially in the last level. I'm dead. All right, let's try this again. But yeah, like I was saying before, the turtles in the last level, it's interesting because you do have to position those in a certain direction in order to gain a little bit more height and distance in your jumps when you're using them as platforms. The birds in this level, it doesn't, I've noticed it doesn't really matter what direction they're in. Like they could be up higher, they could be down lower. Crash still gets a pretty good additional height in his jump when he springs on top of them. So I just wanted to kind of mention that because I always thought that was kind of interesting, where I feel like that could have been done a little bit different, where it could have been made a little more challenging, but I think that's kind of interesting. But now we have another Nitrous Brio bonus stage. So these are always fun. This one is one of the more difficult ones because, as you can see, we actually got it done. I was actually surprised. Yeah, we basically just want to have to make sure that you are not in a certain distance of those TNT crates when they go off. And of course you are, just kind of going through it without really stopping that much. That way you can get the other boxes and get out of there and bounce out of there before they go off. So moving right along, we have more of these moving platforms that I did not make it on. All right, we're going to try that again. Man, this has been a journey to get through this one. This is, again, I really like this level, and a lot of these levels design-wise and aesthetic-wise look amazing, especially on this remastered version. It just sometimes, again, I just sometimes have those moments, so we all do. So don't make fun of me too much. I'm doing my best. So, but now, is there anything in there? I think there was like an extra live in there, and I've already collected it on one of my other attempts, so I can't get it again. But yeah, like right there. See, as you can see, like those birds, man, we're finally at the end, thank goodness. Those birds, it didn't really matter where they were. I was still able to get a pretty good distance up in my jump there, so pretty nice. Another mad scientist guy, and look at that, red gem. Red gem alert. We broke all the boxes. Let me get that sucker because I'm not leaving without it. Take a hike, Skippy. We are leaving the level. And that is color gem number 4. So we only have 2 more color gems left to find, and we only have 10 more white gems left to get as well. Very nice. So we have now moved on to the next level, which is Lights Out. However, we have some more backtracking that we can do now that we have the red gem. This time we are able to make a return back to Native Fortress, way back at the end of the first island, where we have some more backtracking to do. Alright, so once you get kind of towards the end of the level here, when you start to see those little huts in the backdrop, you will find a red gem path waiting for you just behind that little lit torch thing. And now we can use these bouncy boxes to get up here, and as you can see, we have some more boxes up in the clouds. So this part is very pretty cool. As you can see, the backdrop over there is amazing. You can see Cortex's castle over there to the right, way out in the distance. Of course, we are back on the first island, so it's a little bit further away from us. But we can also see the second island from here as well. So that's kind of cool how you get both of the other islands in a nice little view here. So kind of cool how they did that. Looks beautiful as well, and we get to walk over some clouds up here, so we kind of feel a little spiritual and things like that. And I'm gonna get started in that. But anyways, tons more boxes to find up here. I think we were missing like 15 last time we were here, or like 11 or something like that. So this is where the rest of them are. So we have a red gem path that's nice enough to take us all the way up to the clouds, where we can break some boxes, because that's what Crash has to do. He's the hero of this legend. He's got to break some boxes, all right? No, but really though, he's got a lot of stuff to do. His hands are tied. Leave him alone. All right, so now that we have made it to the end of the level and broken the rest of the boxes, we finally are awarded our white gem that we did not get the first time we were here, and we finally have it. So that makes gem number 17 for the white gems. Look at that, just under 70%. All right, so we can actually travel back to Road to Nowhere with the blue gem as well. Once you have made it to this checkpoint right here, you will find a red gem path that we were not able to access before. This will take you over to a little isolated area here. What we want to do is, as you see, there's a TNT crate here with a exclamation metal box there. And we want to, of course, trigger that without breaking the dynamite, which we failed to do. But it's alright because we spawn right next to the gem path again and we don't have to worry about a thing. Let's go ahead and make it right back over here again. We don't want to do what we just did before like a fool. What I missed out on, I guess, was I was supposed to walk a little bit further to trigger that TNT crate, which will trigger that switch, which will then, of course, trigger some more boxes right here. Use that box to trigger that switch, and then use that box to get up here to trigger that switch, which creates even more boxes. So kind of cool. Oh, is that not gonna... Oh, I thought that was triggered already. Okay. Wait for these TNT boxes to explode. Very nice. All boxes done there, and then we have 4 more right here. So we have 3 extra lives and an Aku box given to us right there. So very nice. I love some of these rewards you get for collecting some of the color gems. Now we're going to make our way back over to that gem path and then finish up the level, and I will meet you at the end of it. All right, so now that we have gotten through the end of this, we have yet again, what is this? Another red gem path. So right here at the end, if you thought it was done, nope, we still have 2 more boxes. I love how they just slip this in at the very end here. And of course, they would put one of these here. We have another thing of apples. Another group of apples where we have to basically find the hidden platforms that they are floating above. Luckily, I'm skilled at this game, so I'm going to make a nice little courageous jump of faith and fall down to my death. Trying that again, please. Boom. Boom. Bam. Boom. And there it is. Just give it to me. 2 boxes. All that work for 2 boxes. Are you kidding me? And tons of apples. So I guess that makes up for it. Apple a day keeps the doctor away, and we have tons. So very nice. Take this additional exit out of the level. That brings our white gem total to 18. So we are just 8 gems away from collecting all of the white gems. Very nice. All right, so it is now time to take on Lights Out. However, we are going to be saving that for the next episode of Let's Play Crash Bandicoot. So until then, I will see you later. Things are about to get dark.